Hello and welcome. You are watching ET Now, Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. This is Krishna Kumar coming to you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios, and we are being joined as always by my colleague Chandra Ashtrikant from India's startup capital, Bengaluru.
Krishna, first of all, welcome back after your wedding leave. Good to see you back on Startup Central, but I'm afraid not very good news from the startup world. In fact, it's been a week from hell as far as startups are concerned. It started with a management fight at ShopClues, and then the whole controversy around harassment charges with the viral fever. And finally, yesterday night, we got the shocking news of Stayzilla founder and CEO Yogendra Vasupal being arrested in Chennai over non-payment of about 1.72 crore rupees to an advertising agency. Now, this has sent shockwaves, ripples across the startup ecosystem. A lot of people questioning, what was the need for a civil case to turn into a criminal one? And can such suo motu arrest really happen? And what larger message does it send out as far as startups are concerned? Now, we are going to try our best to bring about a balanced perspective because it's very easy to take sides in such a contentious issue. We will try not to do that, which is why we have a battery of experts lined up over the next few minutes. But to first get a sense of, what's the current status as far as Yogendra Vasupal is concerned and what is the complainant's key contention, let's go to Rahul Dayama in Bangalore.
Chandra, the story really has two sides to it. One really with Stayzilla really having issues with its landlord. They have their office here in Bangalore. So they say that there has been continuous harassment from their landlord here while they want to vacate the space since they have shut down operations. They've also filed an FIR against the landlord after he threatened their staff at the office. But the bigger issue here is the dues that Stayzilla owns to this particular media agency called Jigsaw Advertising. They really take care of the ad campaigns of Stayzilla. So it's about 1.67 crore of pending dues that Stayzilla owes to this ad agency in Chennai. While Stayzilla has maintained that yes, there are some dues, there have been mail correspondence telling them that the dues will be cleared. Some part because they weren't happy with the services offered from the media agency will be discussed. But what has really happened is that the agency has moved an FIR against Yogendra Yadav. While there are larger questions as to should this be a civil case, a criminal case, why did the police really get involved in this? But the fact of the matter is that Yogendra Vasupal was arrested by the Chennai police last evening. Right now, the big update on this case has been that the co-founders of Stayzilla, the investors, even the startup community is really rallying behind Yogendra to get him a bail. The update today is while they spent the entire day trying to secure his bail, that really hasn't materialized because his co-founders Rupul and Sachit had to get a hard copy of the FIR, which they could really source only later part of today. So it's likely tomorrow that Yogendra will get a bail. So while the campaign to really ensure that everyone rallies behind him continues, it's only tomorrow that a bail in this matter is expected, and then things will move forward. We will have to see if they will look at out-of-court settlement or will this matter really reach the courts from here on.
Rahul Dayama there getting us the Stayzilla story. Thank you so much for that update, Rahul Dayama. Chandra, it's clear that the Stayzilla story is going to remain in the headlines for a bit because the situation needs to find a resolution that ain't harmful for the startup vein in the country, for all those looking to start new ventures. Not all of them are going to go the way that you actually want them to. But then again, nothing can stop anybody from trying, and the startup community in the country needs to get itself together to back Vasupal, the man in question at this point in time, and see what is the best that can be worked out under the current circumstances. But Chandra, I might have been off for a while, but you've been keeping yourself busy. That includes this morning as well, because you did get a massive interview. Mr. Nandan Nilekani, no less, who says that the last few months have exposed a lot of serious issues within the startup ecosystem. And speaking exclusively to you, Chandra, Nilekani said that startups need to learn a lot from companies like Wipro and emphasis on how to build a strong business model that can be sustained over the years. Let's take a look at that big ET Now exclusive.
I think we have had a very, very vibrant startup sector. I think the last few months have exposed various frailties or the fragile nature of some issues. Clearly, a lot of them are people-related issues, like management teams and all that. The other are related to financial and business model issues, having enough capital and so on. So I think it's the responsibility of all of us in the ecosystem to see how our entrepreneurs and our companies, both from a value system and leadership point of view, become very robust, as well as build sustainable business models. I think that's where I think we can learn a lot from the earlier generation of companies. I think the Infosys, Wipro, TCS, all these companies, they were very, very stable for decades. They grew. They morphed from small companies to large mega corporations. So there's a lot of learning in that. A lot of how you think about long-term planning, how you build sustainable business, how do you develop people, how do you create a team that works together. There's a lot of learnings in that. So I think those learnings, in some sense, have not percolated to the next level.
Why do you think that is? Because, I mean, is there a sense of sort of moral bankruptcy? I mean, that's a very harsh word to use. Or, I mean, you guys were also first generation entrepreneurs, so we can't really brush off everything saying, it's first generation entrepreneurship, startup ecosystem is not mature. Where are the fault lines? Is it because they're being given too much money, too much power, or are the investors, board members not doing their job? What is really lacking?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. I think definitely too much capital too early has in some situations led to undesirable consequences. And then, thinking long term, because you also understand that all these guys are in a very hyper competitive environment. So you can't say, okay, I'll have a 5-year plan and all that, because you have to worry about next week. So there's also that pressure of hyper competition. So, I mean, there are these issues. But I think at the same time, I think there's a lot to learn, from the older companies.
Right. Also want to understand, sir, with respect to the episode of Stazilla CEO in particular being arrested, do you think it could affect the risk appetite of other entrepreneurs? Because the government has been going gung-ho over the Startup India, but at the first sign of default, not because he's cheated, but because of a failure, if someone is dragged to the police station, is this sending out a bad message to the entire community, to the ecosystem?
No, I think it's unfortunate that it's reached that stage. And I don't know the details, so I can't comment on that. But I think the startup environment is quite resilient. I think it will continue to grow and continue to attract capital. I think you'll see now more longer-term business plans, people who look at sustainability, people who look at a leadership team.
Not just GMBs.
Yeah. So I think all that is part of the growing up phase.
That's not the only top voice we have on the story, Krishna. In fact, joining us live from Bengaluru is also Karnataka's IT Minister Priyank Kharge, who was one of the first persons from the government to take to Twitter to really assure everyone that he is in touch with Tamil Nadu's government officials as well to sort out this issue, because a lot of people began tweeting to PMO India, to Nirmala Sitharaman, as this crisis really exploded on the message that this is sending out for other entrepreneurs. Priyank, thank you for joining us live on Startup Central. Just want to start by asking you any response that you've received from your counterpart in Tamil Nadu so far, because a lot of people seem to think that this is a civil suit which has unnecessarily been painted into a criminal one, and perhaps business failure is getting interpreted as fraud. Your own take?
Well, I spoke to my counterpart in Tamil Nadu, Dr. Manikandan, and I've asked him to look into the merits of the case and help the Stazilla CEO. Because at the end of the day, whatever it is, the law of the land needs to be followed. But if there has been tweaking of the law of the land, also it's the responsibility of the government also to take note of that. So only when we get to know the merits of the case is something that we can take a call on that.
Right, Priyank, just one follow-up question. In that blog that Yogendra Vasupal wrote, he's also mentioned about some landlord in Bangalore with political connections who was, threatening him, acting like a goon when they did not, when they occupied their premises. Are you taking any action into that? Because this is a problem that other startups have tweeted about as well. The difficulty that they find in getting office space in Bangalore and the constant payoffs that they have to make to influential people with political links.
No, I'm not sure. I don't think I agree with that. Constant payoff need to be made by startups for any kind of office space they are required in Bengaluru. Otherwise, how can we be such a vibrant ecosystem with over 7,000 startups here? So, but there might be a stray incident of harassment by an owner, and I've taken note of that, and I've already spoken to the relevant authorities to have a look at that. But painting everybody in the same brush would be really wrong.
All right, Mr. Priyank Kharge, IT Minister for Karnataka, thank you so much, sir, for taking time out to be with us here on ET Now Startup Central. That's not it, Chandra. We do have more voices coming in right here at ET Now Startup Central. We do have Shashank ND, co-founder of Practo, joining us on the phone, and we have serial entrepreneur K. Ganesh joining us as well from Bengaluru, and we have Mr. Ravi Gururaj, the chairman of the NASSCOM Product Council, joining us live from Bengaluru as well. Ravi, Ganesh, and Shashank, thank you all three of you gentlemen for taking time out to be with us over here. Ravi, I'm going to start with you first. The startup founders have been under a cloud for the last 1 week for various reasons. In this particular case of Mr. Vasupal is concerned, it's just a business that didn't go as planned. It was a well-appreciated business model. They did put in their heart and soul to it and didn't go as planned. And look at where that has landed up that founder. In a quandary facing the law, where two ministers from across two states have to have a conversation about it. How would you assess the situation right now?
Yeah, so it's concerning for sure. It's distressing, I'm sure, to many younger founders, especially who've started their first business and are possibly going to have to face similar kinds of circumstances downstream, right? I think what we want is being in a startup is risky as it is, and 9 out of 10 startups are going to fail. We know that upfront, and so entrepreneurs deserve our support when they fail. We need to make sure it's a smooth transition, from running business to one that is in closure, and we should make sure they're not harassed, they're not threats, that there's no excessive personal liabilities beyond what they have signed up for, that they're and there's no intimidation for sure. I think all of that is what's distressing the ecosystem. It's not the fact that Stayzilla failed. I think we all understand that. I think the investors took a huge bet and they've lost big. I think the founders themselves have admitted all of the learnings that they've had, and I think they've taken on bravely sharing those insights with the ecosystem. But I think what we've seen in the last couple of days is unacceptable. I think we need to really find a way to have a smooth set of processes to transition. It should not become criminal conduct that people are being charged with, when actually it's just commercial activity that has failed, right?
Shashank, if you can hear me, this is Chandra joining from ET Now Bengaluru. You heard out Ravi's perspective, but we also need to see the other side of this issue, which is the complainant, Aditya CS, who owns an advertising firm in Chennai, alleging that he wasn't taken into confidence when Yogendra Vasupal decided to, write that post last month saying that he is shutting down his startup. In such a situation, what else could a vendor have done when, someone who owes him 1.72 crores suddenly decides to write a post saying I'm shutting down, he has no information about it. So in that sense, could the founders have done more to perhaps take everyone into confidence? Everyone thought only about the employee impact first, but should he have done more to really sensitize vendors, the other people who they owed money to?
Thanks, Chandra. First of all, I'm deeply affected by the sequence of events that have taken place. a lot of future young entrepreneurs are going to be watching the sequence of these events very closely, and how India reacts and how we react is, and the steps that are going to be taken in the coming few weeks are going to be very, very important. I think the startup ecosystem is facing these challenges for the first time, so there are a lot of lessons to be learned. You're absolutely right that things can be done differently, and many companies will take learnings out of this episode that has taken place. But having said that, I do feel that there are various different options available to be able to deal with such situations. If you're a company and you have people who owe you money, there are different ways in which you can deal with it. I think it's a responsibility of the government and the system to put down really good mechanisms and regulations when it comes down to shutting down a business, which I think will go a long way in helping companies who are going after these very innovative models. When they face failure, these regulations will come in handy. So I think, like Ravi spoke about it, I think we really need regulation and clarity in how the law comes in when these businesses have to be shut down. And with clarity, I'm sure that startups or any company will be able to have the right procedures in place to deal with such circumstances.
All right, Shashank, just hold on to your thoughts, because let me bring in now K. Ganesh into the discussion. Ganesh, as someone who has been active in the startup ecosystem yourself, what do you make of the shocking turn of events at Stagezilla? We haven't heard or seen things like this ever before.
Yeah, so all I find this completely bizarre, right? Whether it's a startup ecosystem or it is traditional old economy companies, commercial disputes between vendor, supplier and the company, between shareholders in the company, between joint venture partners is quite common, right? Right from Tata Docomo dispute to Ranbaxy dispute. So it's quite common. You don't go around arresting people, you don't put people behind bars, you don't go around harassing people. All these things extremely bizarre and very unfortunate. Okay? I mean, I don't know the merits of the case. I don't know which side is right or wrong, but those are sort of normal law of the land to decide process to take place. I do appreciate that the judicial system in India moves slowly. There is frustration. If you owe me money, I following judicial process takes time. But that is why the laws of the land is passed. And I don't know how arresting a founder, arresting a CEO, arresting a person would actually help in any way. It's a civil matter. It's a business matter. There must be ways of resolving it. There are various forums that exist. And in any case, the founder or CEO has got minority shareholding. He's involved in running of the company. I'm not saying that you absolve him completely, but the solution is not to arrest him or harass him. So I find it extremely disturbing.
Right. Ravi, you heard out, what Shashank said, the need for more clarity in terms of laws, what Ganesh said as well on how bizarre the settlement process has been between Stagezilla and one of its creditors. But, is there clear laws now for startups that are shutting down in India? This is something that startups have sought, the ease to not just start up but also shut down, because the rate of failure is obviously much higher than success. And in such case, what norms need to be followed when a startup decides to shut down and go about settlement to all its vendors, because this typically could have been a civil suit. So what went wrong here?
Yeah, I think, there's some kind of, dispensation, special dispensation that has been made to make this into a criminal thing. At least that's what the facts would have you assume, given what we know now. I think it's not necessarily a law that would have protected this from happening. I think it's some bad judgment somewhere along the way, possibly, that has happened, that has ended up where we are now. I think looking longer term, there's lots of learnings. I think we need to make sure that, even founders take care when they're shutting down a company. I think, we need to, help them assess what steps it takes to shut down a company. But obviously, at the point of shutdown, you're going to have a set of creditors, you're going to have a set of employees, you're going to have a set of, other even investors, many classes of investors that you have to deal with. And that takes time. I think this company has just, in the last few weeks, shut down, and I'm sure they had a process in place. But obviously, one of the creditors has got excited and tried to jump the gun and, enforce his credit, his liabilities over others, right? And maybe that's what we're seeing here. And, it should not be possible to do this in the law. And certainly, whatever you do, even if you file in civil court, it shouldn't be turned into a criminal act, right? And that's, I think, the fundamental question we need to ask is, how did this happen so expeditiously? How did it happen across state borders? How did it happen, turn it into a criminal act so fast, right? I think that's, no such law or policy would have protected against that, I think. And we need to ask those questions.
To ask those questions,
Right.
Ravi, I'm going to ask one last question to Shashank. Shashank, talk to us, at this stage, as an entrepreneur yourself, your startup is considered one of the best business models, has done some amazing work, has been awarded by the Economic Times as well. What is your message out to startup founders who are watching all of this commotion break out?
You're absolutely right. I think every entrepreneur in India right now has been shaken up by this fall of events. I think especially those who know Yogi very well, and I've spent some time with him, and there's a lot of support that's come in from the entire ecosystem, which is great to see. So I think the message that I'm hearing all around is about the fact that it is time to accept that startups do fail. They do come under they are trying out innovative models, and sometimes things don't work out. And when that happens, the system that has helped them to flourish, and the system that has funded them, and the system that has given them the support needs to also come in handy to support them during these testing times. I think there can be much better legal structures in place that can help shutting down a company to be far more simpler. In the US, there's a much better bankruptcy law that exists. In India, we don't have such systems yet, and even the ones that are there are still not to the same degree that is expected. So I think startup founders would appreciate more help in putting these structures in place.
Shashank of Practo, K. Ganesh, serial entrepreneur, and Ravi Gururaj of the NASSCOM Product Council. Thank you all three of you gentlemen for taking time out to be with us here on this very special edition of ET Now Startup Central, just to put the entire StayZilla story into perspective for all those who are watching. And Chandra, I'm afraid it's important to see how the story ends, how the StayZilla story ends, what happens to Vasupal. And I'm sure we here at Startup Central will make sure that we'll keep all eyes till we figure out how Vasupal can be rehabilitated after what he's been through.
Right, Krishna. As I understand, he's still in jail. His bail hasn't come through. But luckily, his investors, Matrix Partners, are closely involved with getting him out of jail. But this is a test case for Startup India in how they begin to also deal with vendors, with creditors. Is it just enough to say on a blog that you're shutting down? Was everyone taken into confidence? And should we get used to failures, startup failures? That's another important point here. But on that note, we come to the end of this edition of ET Now Startup Central. Here's hoping the rest of the week is a better one for startups. Thanks so much for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.